Welcome to the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast. My name is Rob Murgatroyd, and I am a former doctor turned lifestyle entrepreneur. Each week, I interview some of the best minds on the planet on the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. Today's episode is a mini-sode that we call Fri-Date with the Wife. In these mini-sodes, my wife Kim and I deconstruct the strategies that we've developed over the last decade to not only grow personally, but to turn our struggles into lessons and create fulfillment in all areas of our lives. Excuses are over. It's time to live. Let's dig into today's topic. All right, before we jump into this episode, I want to invite you to be considered for my Work Hard, Play Hard Mastermind by completing an application at workhardplayhardmastermind.com. So this mastermind is not like any mastermind you may have been to or heard of, I promise you. This mastermind is for 6 to 7 figure entrepreneurs that are working too damn much and aren't taking the time to have amazing experiences around the world with an incredible tribe of people. So every 100 days or so, I drop you into new experiences that are specifically designed to elevate your thinking, to give you new ideas. Look, you get your best ideas not staring at a computer. And actually, this is the way high-level people really collaborate with each other. They do it over a glass of champagne, watching the sunset in the south of France. So if you are ready to do some fun stuff around the world and really, really want to level up your tribe in one shot, fill out an application at workhardplayhardmastermind.com. We'll jump on a call and we'll see if it's a good fit. All right, let's jump into today's episode. Kimberly, Oregon Trail, Murgatroyd, how the hell are you this morning?
Do you remember that? Did you play that, or are you too old to have played Oregon Trail?
Listen, I think I was on the chuck wagon that went to Oregon. I'm so old. So I want to talk about the area of resistance and what I have been observing around it. In the past, what I've done is I said, okay, look, here's the goal that I want. And I put a picture of it, put it on the vision board. And if it's maybe an economic goal, I might break it up, or even any kind of goal. I'll break it up into milestones and then, sort of anchor myself to the milestone, wrestle it to the ground and make it happen. And I completely ignored the area of resistance. So what is this resistance that this one is continually talking about? The resistance is, what is the thing? Like if I said to you, you have a goal of walking over to the table and picking up a glass of water. Well, you look at the next table, you see a glass of water, and you're like, yeah, I have no resistance. I'll just walk over and pick up that water. That's like zero resistance, right? There's no part of you that doesn't think you can do it. There's no part of you that has a block around it. There's nothing. But within every goal, particularly bigger ones, very often there are areas of resistance that you don't even realize are there. So now what I've been doing is I've been looking at and thinking about what's the goal that I'm working on. So I'll, in the morning when I do my visualization, I'll think about the goal. But now I'm doing an extra step. And the extra step is if I did have resistance, because it's easy for you to go, no, I don't have any resistance. If I did have resistance, where would it be?
So what did you just say? You said, if I had resistance, where would the resistance be? So you're like an explorer looking in the nooks and crannies of your goal to find the underlying resistance somewhere. And you may not think you have resistance until you figure it out. Can I give an example?
Yeah, sure.
So the example of here's my resistance. You want a bigger house, right? You want a bigger house, an ocean view.
Not necessarily bigger. It's more ocean view that I'm after.
Okay.
I would like it bigger, but that's not the driver. I don't want a 2x4 that's facing the ocean.
Yeah.
So I want a nice house, but bigger is not necessary.
Yeah.
Because I had a big one and it was a pain in the ass.
Well, that's my resistance to it, because when I think about some of these, here they're like, they're very narrow, but they go very high, right?
That's what she said.
3. Yeah, there you go. That was good.
Thank you.
Like 3-story big house with like all these things. I think about the upkeep of it, and like my resistance is the upkeep, the property tax, the guy that comes to do the lawn, the what happens when the shit breaks. Like all of those things are resistance that I hold. And so for me to manifest a house, I have to handle all of that resistance, even though it's not massive resistance. It's underlying, because I would like that house too, but I do have in the back of my head all of these weird little things that I don't like necessarily want.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And I have to handle them if I were to manifest this house.
Yeah, so a good way of handling the resistance would be, we have so much money coming in that we have people that could handle all of those things. So it's not an issue if you need to automate a gardener handling your garden that you don't want to do, or landscaping, let's say. But money is coming in where you just talk to the guy and you say, hey, look, once every week, once every 2 weeks, I want you to come in and handle it. Then all of that goes away if you have enough cash where you don't have to think about it. It's a non-issue. But if you don't have enough cash, then the conversation is,
then the resistance is the money.
Then the resistance is the money.
Then it's going to be so expensive to upkeep this entire house. So the point of this is to look for all of the underlying resistance and find a way to handle it.
Okay. Now, another way that you can consider doing this is by going general. So I'll give you an example. One of the examples that we've used over and over again is, how can we get ourselves to California? Well, there was a lot of issues. It's never going to happen. I can't sell my practice. There's just been a million different pieces of resistance that were there, right? But somehow we were able to speak in general terms around it. So the example there is, whenever I saw California on the television, or whenever I visited California, I got in my head what it would feel like living there, with blue skies and no humidity and surfing and great weather all year round, and, healthy, sort of a healthy, food environment, et cetera. So getting into that, there was no resistance at all. I was lost in what it feels like to live in California. The moment I thought about the actual goal of moving me to California, a pile of resistance came in. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? So if you're in a place where you have a goal that you're working on and you have identified resistance, like, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to do this resistance, I recommend that you go higher and more general than lower and more specific in how to. Because the general is going to get you in touch with the feeling of joy and excitement and pleasure, rapture, whatever the word you want to use is. Let's say that you want to move to an island, right? A lot of people are moving to places like Costa Rica, stuff like that. So anyway, think about what it is and try and go general. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So let's give some examples though, because it's so much easier said than done, right? So one of my goals, and we talked about last week, is a body goal. Like I'm leaning more towards having a athletic, like fit body versus, I go to the gym and throw weights around, and you're doing the same. So a lot of people have a physical goal where they are going to, maybe they want to lose weight or whatever it is. The resistance around a body goal is so big, because the moment I say, like, it's actually comical that I wrote as my goal that I want a volleyball body, because every time I think of me as a volleyball player, it makes me laugh because I'm 3 feet tall. That's resistance. That's an example of where resistance is in that. But if I think about, just being fit in an overall general fit kind of way, where I'm active daily and I'm doing beach sports just in the general terms. Like, have you ever run in the sand? Like, that's hard as hell. If I could run in the sand and not turn purple, that is exciting to me. So I'm trying to focus on things that kind of lean that way, but there's so much resistance with body goals. Like, for me personally, every time I look at a picture, you have this too. Every time in the past when we have tried to like lean down for a vacation, we look at a picture and we go like that. And we were always like getting ready for a show or just did a show. And so for us, we linked up in our head to get that body, we must compete in a fitness competition. And that resistance is huge. That's chicken and broccoli. That's basically torture for 90 days. I mean, there's a lot of resistance there. So I think a lot of people look and they're like, oh, well, there was that one time I had lost that, 35 pounds, but it was so hard. And that's the resistance. So give me an example for someone with a body goal. How do they switch that around? Like how, as Esther says, go downstream instead of upstream. Every negative resistance thought you have against your goal is you're like a salmon trying to swim upstream versus going down, going with the flow.
So look, a lot of this conversation, first of all, I am not your guru, as Tony Robbins says. I have no idea.
You're not Esther?
I'm not Esther.
I'm not Abraham?
I'm just a schmuck sitting here with a microphone in front of me. Like I am trying to figure this out as much as anybody else is. But here's what I'm going to try and recommend, that if I could save somebody who's younger than me some time, here's what I would say.
Are you negating everybody older than you?
Well, I'll save older people too. But for all of the years, I'll be 54 next month. Out of all of the years prior to this, like where we are right now, maybe this last 3 months, everything I've ever done has been write a goal, wrestle it to the ground. I have never employed the spiritual side to accomplish it. I've never given it enough credence. I've never learned how to lean into it. I've never made it a part of the process of doing it. So to answer your question with that in the background, a lot of what I'm going to say about weight, which is the example that you just used, is going to make no fucking sense to somebody who has eaten grilled chicken and boiled broccoli and lost weight, because that's the strategy that they used. But there is an example that Esther used where she goes out to dinner with this, beautiful model girl. And, she's like one of these girls, like you look at her and like, she's going to photograph incredible, but sitting next to her is like, oh my God, like how the hell, like she's perfect. Like she's thin and beautiful and blah, blah, blah. And of course, that perfect girl is ordering like not chicken and broccoli for dinner, and then eating the plates.
She said she ordered 2 full dinners and ate both of them.
Right. And then when she was done, anybody that didn't finish the dessert, she finished theirs. And Esther looks at her and she's like, I hate you. And we could never be friends. You know that, right? And so they had a laugh, and then they were talking about how she viewed food. And she said, food is my friend. So now, does it make sense that you can go out to dinner and say food is my friend and eat the brownie sundae? Probably not. But I can tell you this:
but that is the point, though.
I can tell you this: if heart attacks are causing stress because of the way that you're thinking,
if stress is causing heart attacks,
if stress is causing heart attacks, if stress is causing strokes, if stress is causing cancer, which there's so much science to support that it is, right? Then why can't the lack of stress and the ease, right? What's disease? It's dis-ease. Why can't the lack of stress do something like this? Now, we all know people who fall into the category of this woman that I just described. We're like, how the hell are you eating this? And they have this view of food. Oh, I eat a little bit of this and I eat a little bit of that. I don't worry about it. I watch during the week. I make sure I don't go crazy, but I watch. There is not the opposite of it. And now, how many people do you know who have been on Weight Watchers for 1,000 years? My mother is a perfect example. My mother's been on I'm 54. She's been on Weight Watchers for 74 years, okay? She's still having no calorie this and fat-free that, and I'm big boned, and no matter what I eat, whatever I eat, it goes right to my thighs. All of those things are not serving her.
Okay, let me put a point on this, though, because I think I can wrap this section in a bow. You and I went to Italy we were there for 3 months. We drank wine at lunch and dinner. We ate pasta every day. We ate pizza every other day. We ate cheese. We ate tiramisu. We had dessert every day. We had ice cream. When you think about what we consumed there, I never once looked at one meal there and said, I shouldn't eat this. This is going to make me fat. Never, not one time.
You know why?
because I was in love.
Well, I'll tell you, it's in
Food
love,
was my friend.
But I'll tell you more than that. This is an interesting conversation. We never talked about this before. Look, we're all influenced by our environments. So everybody around us is doing the exact same thing with joy.
Yes.
It's not like here in America where we're, driving the minivan through McDonald's and we're on the phone and we're shoving French fries and bacon cheeseburgers in our face so that we can just get some kind of quote unquote fuel in our body and then move on to the next project. There's a romance.
Yes.
There's let me tell you about this wine. Let me tell you about this cheese. And every piece of cheese is explained. And we're going to use this honey, but not that honey with this cheese and those nuts. And then, today's pizza, let me tell you, the reason why we're doing this one today is because these Roma tomatoes, they're in season. So we're going to do it today. So there's oh my God, I want to try this. This is incredible. This looks so good. Wow. And you got this on the farm and from yesterday. And so there becomes this rapture. I don't know what the word is. It's twice.
This love, this romance around it.
Where you're in it.
If you are finding the joy in all of these things, the resistance begins to fade. And when the resistance fades, the goals come and the manifestation happens, right? That's what this is all about. So if you're struggling with weight, find the joy in food again. Find the joy in your relationship if you're struggling there. What makes you happy, and do more of that, right?
Yeah, you just, like, my brain's exploding right now. You hit 2 points that I hadn't thought of before. Could you do the chicken and broccoli diet and get a six-pack? Yep, you could. Does it last? Nope. I got 1,000 friends that I'm going to tell you either are continually doing the chicken and broccoli thing and are miserable. Trying to go out to dinner with them sucks.
And depriving, which by the way is resistance.
And so eventually you give up. Now here's the other part. The other part is when you're truly enjoying it in the way that we described, where we're sitting there last night and we've got this guy that brings us wine now. He's an Italian. And so, we got a dealer. We got a dealer. So we love wine. And so, we're sitting there having this conversation. I said it was an Amarone, and she's like, no, it's not. And it can't be because it's from this part of Italy. And so we're having a conversation. Well, this is really good. And so we're Vivinoing it and looking at the score and what's the price point on it. And so we're lost in the joy of that. When you are in joy of something at that level, your desire to open up a Snickers bar is so far because there's no joy.
Hallelujah. But let me tell you, when I was eating the chicken and the broccoli and torturing myself, I would be like, you remember the cookie? I'd have to go get the cookie like once a week because I couldn't function. I was like it was torture, right? So finding the joy.
Did that click for you?
Yes. Finding the joy in the food, finding the joy in all of it. So here's the thing. When you're finding joy, I'm going to use food because I know that that's a big one. It's a big one for everybody, I feel like. When you're finding the joy in food, Papa John's is not bringing you joy. There's no one that's going, I mean, you might like it and it might be good, but it's not a Neapolitan pizza with San Marzano tomatoes or whatever.
It's just affecting your physiology, raising your blood sugar.
And so what she's saying is not that you can just go out and eat all the shit food in the world, because you're not actually finding joy in eating it. Find joy in the things that you love to eat, and you will turn and go downstream. You will be in the flow of food. Do you know what I love right now? I love that I have 2 loaves of sourdough that I've been prepping for 3 days, and I do it every weekend. And there's so much love and joy in that bread that I'm not eating the bread going, I shouldn't be eating it. It's a carb. Like, there's so much love and joy in that bread. Like, that is what you're looking for. Find the joy in where you are. It will turn you downstream. And I'm not craving bread because I'm not depriving myself of bread. I'm not craving the shit Snickers bar. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you find that and you go downstream with it, you're going to snowball that into more joy for different things. And same in your relationship. If you're struggling, I know a lot of people are struggling in relationships right now because you've been locked up for 4 months together. Find something of joy with the person. Let that focus turn you downstream and go with the flow and let the rest of the resistance fade. So many people are trying to struggle, or not trying to struggle, are struggling in relationships because they're trying to control everything. They're trying to control this and control that. Just find the joy and go with the flow.
So another area that is a difficult one for resistance is around money. And the principle is pretty similar from where I'm standing. How many times when...
Currently sitting.
Yeah. Well, how many times when you're in a place where you don't have a lot of cash and all you want to do is just go out and buy more shit, right? Well, what are you doing when you do that? What you're doing is you're trying to feel more joy. You're trying to feel more excitement. You're trying to feel more pleasure. But if you are walking around your home and you're looking at, like I'm looking out our backyard window, and we got this beautiful, wood table. And so I'm looking at that. When I'm looking at that wood table and this beautiful umbrella that we have over it, and, our bird feeders and our new garden, and I'm stepping into joy of that, the joy of being in that is stopping the financial resistance because I'm stepping into joy and gratitude for what's around me. So the universe is saying, we're going to send him more of that, as opposed to me looking at it and going, well, that's just an IKEA table. And that umbrella, we bought it locally. I think it was like $120. And that,
or stressing over it and going, I shouldn't have bought that.
Or the opposite. But whatever it is, whichever way you go, it's the lack of joy. Mm-hmm. It's not being in total.
Every thought is two thoughts.
It's either wanting or lack of wanting, right? Okay. So those two areas, your body and your finances, are going to be the ones that have the biggest challenge, because your body is with you 24/7. Every time you take it to a restaurant, it's going to be there. Every time you look in the mirror, you're going to see it. And your wallet is the other one, because every time you go into a store and you pull it out, you're going to say, yeah, but I don't have that number in my checking account. So those two are going to be the biggest one. But the point with this right now is, the point of this show for me is for you to look at what are the areas of your life that you're trying to manifest something and you want it to come in, but it just is not coming in. My recommendation for you is to consider where the resistance is and maybe go a bit more general around it.
Okay,
and here's the last thing I'm going to leave you with. I'll say you cannot angle for your limitations and be happy. So whatever it is that you are trying to accomplish, if you're looking at it and going like, yeah, but I'm not skilled enough in this. Yeah, but I don't know how to do it. Those are your limitations. You can't angle and argue for those limitations and still be happy.
Okay. So we have Sophia here, and I want to take everything we just talked about, and I want to show you how not only you can apply this in your life, but you can help and teach your children these same skills. So, Sophia, say hi.
Hi.
Okay, so here's what I want to talk about today. If you want to do something specific, how, like swimming, okay? So we were in the pool in Mexico.
Yeah,
and
I love swimming.
You love swimming. And you wanted to swim without floaties, right?
Well, I did that already.
Right. But how did you do it? What was the first thing you did?
I put in my vortex, then what is it called?
What did you do?
Visualized.
You closed your eyes and you visualized. What did you visualize?
I visualized me swimming without floaties. So if you're ever scared and you need floaties, but just say, I'll turn around and you can take your floaties off and visualize it.
Okay, so you closed your eyes, you visualized yourself swimming without floaties, and can you explain putting it in your vortex? What did you put in your vortex?
I put in my vortex swimming without floaties.
Okay, and what is your vortex?
My vortex is blue squares that, like a computer, that you just like make, that you just think of something and then it just wipes in one of the squares. And when it comes, it just wipes it away.
Okay, so for everybody listening that doesn't know what a vortex is, Esther refers to putting things into your vortex. And when you put things into your vortex, that is where you're manifesting. So you're thinking, I want $1 million. I want to swim without floaties. I want all the toys in the world, whatever it is. you're putting that into your vortex and you're manifesting it, right? Okay, last question is, what does Esther say at night when we listen to her?
Everything's always working out for me.
All right, Sophia, say, see you next week, everybody. Have a good week.
See you next week, everybody. Have a great week. Bye. My birthday's in a couple of weeks.
All right, thanks for listening. If you love this episode and you know someone that needs some help in either stepping up their work hard game or their play hard game, it would mean the world to me if you shared this podcast with them to help me get this movement out there. So if you like what you heard, head on over to iTunes, take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, and I will be forever grateful. So until the next episode, excuses are over. It's time to live.